I've been traveling for the past 6 years, and these are the currencies that I've collected. Let's go through them. Well, after a little bit of sorting out, guys, we have the collection. Now, some of these, I have no idea how I got them. We have Georgia here, we have euros as well. But one thing to add before we go into this, at the end of 2021, when I did like an 8-month stint of travel, I had a layover in Oman, and I was traveling with an envelope with all the currencies that I'd collected that year. And I fucking lost it. I lost it at the airport because I had like a 1-hour layover to get back home to Sydney. So we lost a lot of things. I know I lost my Iraq money, the Saddam Hussein money that I bought there. And we also bought that again in Afghanistan. And I haven't seen it anywhere here. So I think I've lost Saddam Hussein's money again. Anyways, we're gonna go through these and see what we come across. What do I start off with? There's just too many options.
Do you have the currency of the first country you visited?
That's a good one, Sri Lanka. And I think it's right here. The very first currency I ever got when I started traveling solo, the Sri Lankan rupee? I think it's 1,000 rupees. Dude, I remember one thing specifically from this trip is I was like a budget backpacker, and I would only ever withdraw 5,000 at the ATM each time, which was like, at the time, like 50 Australian dollars. Now it's like crazy what inflation has done over like the past 6 years. But I always found that the Sri Lankan money was super colorful. You got the bright yellow one, the green one I loved, the 1,000. But I distinctively remember only taking out $50 at a time, and I'd go to the ATM like every like 2-3 days.
All right, so in 2019 was 123.71, and now is 193.
193. Yeah, so this is like $40 or something when I used to take it out of the ATM. Now it's like $25, which is crazy what inflation does over the course of like 5 years. Sri Lanka, most memorable part of the trip. I mean, it was my first country I ever visited solo. I was there on my own, experiencing solo travel for the first time, but I think hanging out of trains, I remember I caught the train from Colombo to Galle, I caught many other trains, and being able to hang out the side, that was a surreal experience coming from Australia and visiting Sri Lanka as the very first country. That was pretty cool. Sri Lankan rupiah, done.
Where'd you go next?
Thailand, which we have right here. Honestly, it's a bit of a boring currency, but it's interesting. This one's plastic, but these are paper. But this is like $1 Australian. Oh shit! We got a special guest, everybody. The man, the myth, the legend. Look who's decided to join us, everybody.
Oh, look who it is. Luke's fucking so arrogant now, he's counting his money. Jesus Christ.
Dude, do you have any...
Oh, fuck.
Do you have any money to add to us? You got
some
North Korean money?
North Korean money.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I see it?
Yeah, let me get
No way. While Harry's doing that, we'll go through Thailand. Where did I just put that? Here. Yeah, I went to Thailand for like 2 weeks in the south in Krabi, just before going to India. But Thailand baht is a stable currency. It's stayed relatively similar over the years, which is nice. But, you know, you could buy street food for this, like a pad thai for like $1 Australian. You can use 7-Eleven, go in there. The one thing with Thailand, at the 7-Elevens, you have a minimum spend of 200 before you can use card. So you would end up paying a lot of cash at the 7-Elevens. Let's go on to the Malaysian ringgit. I've been there a handful of times over the years with layovers, and I did a series there in 2023, I believe it was. They have a cool note. This is 1 ringgit, I think it's like 30 cents. And then we got 100 ringgit, that's like $30. Here we go, guys. What do we got?
We got some bangers. We got Eritrea.
Eritrea. So how much is this? 1 Eritrean naka.
It's not much at all. Syrian pound,
No
but
way.
It's got the old Assad, that's Assad's father.
Assad, did he ever end up on the note?
Yeah, he's on the new ones, and then they're gonna redo the whole currency now that so this is like,
So this is 1,000. What was that when you were there?
10,000 is $1.
So this is 10 cents.
Yeah.
Can I keep these?
Yeah, fuck it, why not?
Well, like, only the spares.
I mean, they're not, but...
Okay, no. We'll put them to the side.
But, do you know what is a spare? The Korean won.
No way.
There you go.
North Korean won. So how much is this?
That is, I illegally took that out of the country. You can't get this. It's completely illegal.
Really?
I hid it in my laundry.
Yeah,
No, dude, you're gonna end up like the next Otto. Oh shit, look at this, guys. North Korea and South Korea, they're fighting. Ah!
Mauritius.
Mauritius. 25 rupees.
Lebanon. You can just keep that if you want, because I always go back to Lebanon.
Lebanon.
And then China. You have China?
Dude, I used honestly only Alipay the whole time. We didn't take money out at all.
That's all spare.
That's sick, bro.
And Indonesia. Do you need Indonesia?
No, I got it right here. Let's go.
What's your coolest?
The coolest one, dude, somewhere in here is Saddam Hussein Iraqi dinar. But I will say the Hong Kong money, that is
wow.
freaking cool.
That's sick.
Look how cool that is.
I like it around as well.
Yeah. Dude, I need to give you it before, like this is all Iran.
How much is that?
Like 200 bucks.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I need it. There's so much currency that like once you leave some countries like Lebanon, you can't sell it anywhere, especially when they have like the black market. Like, no one's gonna.
So can I give you a shit rate for it then? I will only give you a really bad rate.
Yeah, like
Okay. Supply and demand.
1 million is $10.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, look it up on Google.
No. There's a black market website. I saw because I watched your video.
I didn't film any videos in Hong Kong, but I ended up with this. I spent like 5 days there with my family. And then where's Macau? I headed over to Macau, the gambling capital of the world. It does 3 times more money per year in terms of like revenue than Vegas, which is crazy. And it's one of the like most beautiful places I've ever been. But it's the gambling capital of the world. We went in there, I think I was up like a few $1,000s in roulette, and then the next day I lost it all. And then the morning of me leaving, I gambled more and then won it all back. So we ended up leaving with a little bit of profit. This is almost exactly the same rate as the Hong Kong dollar. And when you are in Macau, you can actually feed the Hong Kong dollar as well as the Chinese yuan into the machines. They take all the currencies. So that's pretty cool. What is this? Dude, what is this one?
I have no idea. Is it? Oh, that's Taiwan.
Taiwan, oh, the 100, yeah. God, dude, we're literally just there. It gets so confusing looking at this stuff. Because they're all in different languages, there's different emperors and stuff like that. But Taiwan is like $5, I think. Was it? what's the exchange rate?
That's $5.
One of them.
Yeah.
Speaking of the conversion to the Australian dollar, why don't we go to the second best currency in the world? The Australian dollar. I don't usually travel with this because I'm not usually home too much, but when I am, I always withdraw a decent amount of change just to have. I never used to do this when I first started traveling and like having little cash deposits around my luggage in case ATM cards didn't work or anything like that. But I got burnt a few times in India in not being able to use ATMs up in the remote mountains, and I was like literally screwed. So now I always travel with a little bit of cash just to get me out of situations if I ever am in those. But the Australian dollar, we have the old 50 Australian dollar note, which is like 30 USD, and then they changed it to this one. There's also 100 Australian dollars, which is green. And then we have the largest note, 5 Australian dollars. So it's like 3 USD, but a pretty cool currency. And we were actually the first country and the ones that created the plastic note. The Americans are still using paper. This shit rips. And literally a few weeks ago, I accidentally ripped a 100 USD bill in half, and I can't do anything about it until eventually I go to the US. So big up Australia in the innovation of the plastic note. Somehow I picked up Georgian money. 5 Georgian, what is it? Lari. 5 lari. Can you look up what the exchange rate is of the Georgian lari? Former communist country of the Soviet Union, I believe.
It's 1.76. So 1 Australian dollar is
1.76.
76 lari.
Okay, it's like $3. A little less. $2.
What's that?
This is 5.
5, it's 284.
284. Interesting. I have no idea how I picked this up. And also we have Saudi money here. The 10 real. Now I do actually know how I ended up with this. I caught a flight, I think from Dubai to somewhere else on a Saudi airline. And I paid for something at the car, maybe a chocolate bar, and they didn't have any change in dirham, which we also have here. So they gave me some Saudi money. And I was like, hey, you know what, I'll take it. But this is the United Arab Emirates currency. We got, how much is this one? We got 20 here, we got 5, we got 10, and we also got 100. Now, they also have one of the largest notes in the world, and that is 1,000 dirham, which is almost like 300 USD or something like that. That is one of the currencies that you would want to be holding when you are traveling around the world. Maybe not, maybe the USD. No one would probably know what like a dirham is in Mongolia. Or, yeah, we'll stick to the USD. Speaking of USD, we are gonna go through the greatest currency in the world, the petrodollar. Everybody loves a good old American dollar. We've got a couple bills there that we've been using, and then lately I've just been traveling around with a lot of actual USD. I've been visiting some countries that need to exchange money on the black market, like in Iran and Myanmar, and it's very difficult outside of countries that use the US dollar, like Cambodia, obviously the US. The UAE is an easy one to get US dollars, so whenever I do have the chance to do it, I always get a big fat stack. So I always try and keep this on me because it is a bit of a pain at the moment getting US dollars converted from Indonesian rupiah to USD and all the exchange rates. You end up getting ripped off like 2 or 3% each time. So that's the USD. We went through Iran when Harry was just here before, but this is one of the interesting currencies. I don't have any of the new notes, I believe. They have different ones. They have ones that are 1 million Iranian rial in the brown version, and it also shows Czech at the top. And then they have the exact same, but in a blue version, which is super interesting. Now this is a currency that probably out of every currency in the world, maybe not the Argentinian peso, has inflated like absolute crazy. And when you have these currencies, you can't change them outside of the country. No one's going to accept them. They're basically worthless. So I have like a few $100s worth of Iranian money here. And I was also able to buy a piece of Iranian rial that is 20 Iranian rial. I bought this at the US Den of Espionage. And can you imagine, like 20 back in I think the 1970s or something, and now it's gone into the millions. One of these, 1 million Iranian rial, is 1 USD, which is absolutely insane. So I'm fascinated by how inflation works in different countries, and especially after traveling for 6 or so years now, being able to go back to countries that I was at previously and see the rapid inflation, like Lebanon, for example. I was there in 2021 when 1 USD was 25,000 rial. I think now it's up to like 100,000. So it's honestly crazy. We also have more, I don't know how we have more Iranian money here. We've got 50,000. But then they shorten it into like Torman, which is like 4 zeros less. Like this is 500,000. I don't know what's going on. And it confused me so much when I was there. These are the old. No way. Wait, I think I do have Saddam Hussein's money. Dude, I do have it. Let's go. I didn't lose it. Look at that, guys. The Central Bank of Iraq, 25 dinar. We got Saddam Hussein on there. That is so sick. I bought one of these in Basra in southern Iraq. I traded real Iraqi dinar for the fake, well not the fake, but the non-existent, the one that's no longer in circulation. For the fake one, I lost it when I lost all my money in Oman on that goddamn layover. And then when I was in Afghanistan, which we have over here, which is one of the most used notes ever, I actually bought more Saddam Hussein money in a antique shop. But like honestly, the Afghan money is so like, this is just like so normal to have, where it's put together with sticky tape and you have to be careful when you're exchanging money there. So what's that, 20 Afghani. I think the biggest note there is 1,000 or maybe 500. Here's a 500 one. But yeah, a cash only society. You can't use ATMs there as a foreigner, I think, due to sanctions still being around. But I can't believe we actually do have the Iraqi money. I also have some old Afghani money, which is Afghanis or Afghans, I think is the terminology. This is when the previous leaders were in power. Like I'm so confused. There's so many different people on these notes, but this is two Afghani and 50 Afghani. Who knows? Dude, let's go through Bangladesh, a country that I visited in 2023 for a few weeks. We have the taka, which it is called. This is 1,000. Bro, how much is a taka? A Bengali taka.
$1 Australian is 78.49 takas.
Oh wow, so that's over. Dude, I have like a few $100s in like multiple currencies.
What's that?
This is 1,000.
1,000 taka.
1,000 taka?
1,000 taka.
Taka. T-A-K-A.
I find it so difficult. 1,000 taka is 12.74 Australian dollars.
Dude, it's actually crazy. I reckon there's like 5 to... Actually, I'm not even gonna say it in case we get robbed.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I don't think there's anyone willing to convert all of this.
That's true. It's the biggest pain in the ass.
It's the most annoying robbery anyone could ever do.
Bangladesh was a fun time. I remember spending a good portion of time in Cox's Bazar doing all of the ocean activities. We did parasailing there, we did jet skiing. Parasailing was crazy because it was so windy the one day that I wanted to do it, and there was a lady in front of me that went first, and when she was up, the wind like switched and she ended up like falling down into the water and had to get saved on jet skis. And then I was still willing to do it after she fell down, but then they were like, no, we can't do it, the wind is screwed. So I had to go back the following day to another place. And it was maybe, you know, God's plan in not letting me die as a parasailing accident. But we were able to do it at another beach. So that was a good memory out in Bangladesh. We have the euro here. Bro, this is a pretty boring currency. Like actually.
I think that's actually the old euros.
Old ones? Really?
You know what? I haven't been home in a while, but I feel like we have new 10s and 20s and 50s. I don't know if we have new 5s.
Alright.
But I think we do.
But there's a €100 note, right?
Yeah, there's a 500.
Is there 500?
Yeah, there's a 500.
Have you ever seen a 500?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's a lot. Like I was saying the 1,000 dirham is a lot, but €500, that's a lot.
I pay coffees with it.
Yeah, you're just like the bread man?
Yeah, and then I leave the tip.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I have no idea how I got this. Potentially from my time in Greece, or I maybe just stole it off you. Wait, how do I have Moldovan money? What the hell? That is just crazy. It's such a small note. It's like fits in my palm. Like compare this to the Saddam Hussein one, which is over here. Like look at that, the difference in those two. How the heck did I get Moldovan money? I have no idea, I've definitely not been there. So here we have the Myanmar chart, which is an interesting currency. This is another one where I left with a few $100s worth, and I ended up selling it to Harry before he went to Myanmar. So I only have a few left, but this is 10,000, the biggest note there.
What'd you do? What'd you do with that note? Why is it so sticky?
It got a bit lonely out there, bro. I taped it together, guys. We have the 10,000, which I think was like 2 USD at the time. Obviously inflation with the junta fucking everything up there. That is going through the roof, and I think when I was there it was maybe like the highest it's ever been. I'm not sure what it's at now, but we got 1,000, we got 100. It's actually a cool currency. The Myanmar chart is a cool one. It's very colorful. It's got the Burmese language, which is just like squiggles and everything. Pretty cool currency there. Another note that is very big is the Japanese yen. And when I was there about a year ago in 2024 with my good friends Harry, Mac and Ali, had a good time there. Now this is 10,000 yen, which is around 100 Australian dollars. And if you saw maybe a year ago when the yen was crashing, there were so many tourists going because obviously your purchasing power is much higher when the currency is weaker. but I ended up keeping them, and they're very sizable, very big compared to. Dude, I'm just gonna use Moldova as an example now. Like, look how tiny this is compared to the yen. It's absolutely insane. But Japan was a good time. Ooh, the Vietnamese dong. One of the funniest names in currency history, everybody, and it's a mixture between the plastic notes and the paper notes. Can you see how much one dong is?
Okay, so 1 dong doesn't come up at all. It just says 0.
What about, I have 1,000 here. What's 1,000?
1,000 is 0.06.
So 6 cents. 6 cents this one is. I mean, you could maybe buy a banh, no, not even a banh mi.
No.
Maybe like 10 of these. What about 500,000? I think this is the biggest note. I got 500K.
Any guesses?
Dude, I can't even remember what the exchange rate is. I think the exchange rate is like 15,000 to like 1. So like 35 bucks or something.
Close. It's 29.88.
Oh, so 30 bucks. This is 30 bucks right here. That's crazy. But I've been to Vietnam multiple times. I've just never really filmed videos there. Most memorable experience there is absolutely the Ha Giang Loop. Doing that in 3 days with some good friends, riding motorbikes, some of the most scenic views you ever experience, and it's cool just stopping off at the little villages, having the traditional food. They have up there these massive bongs where you rip like tobacco. So we're doing, I think, a lot of those. That is probably the most memorable experience in Vietnam. What is this one? Nepal. Wow, I have a lot of Nepalese rupee here. A pretty boring currency. A lot of nature focus. You got like Everest on this one.
Hey, that's actually pretty good.
It's very nature focused.
It
On the
looks
on the
good.
back you have a buffalo. I think I actually saw these deer in the safari that I did out in Chitwan. Do they have a rhino on here? Because they have an elephant. I saw elephants out there in Nepal. By far the most, oh here we go. On the 100 rupees, you have a rhino. And the reason that I mention this is because I slapped a rhino's ass. Literally, in the streets of Chitwan, there was a rhino walking down, and he was so chill. I could go up and pet him, and I slapped his ass, or her ass, and it was like a chest plate. Like, it was just so thick. No one can really relate to this, but like if you touch a rhino, the material, it's just like armor. It is just so thick, especially its ass. Like it was just crazy. So I slapped its ass. That's definitely got to be one of the coolest experiences I've ever done, I've ever had. And seeing this rhino just walk down the streets of Nepal, that was absolutely crazy. Let's move on to the Philippines. Been there multiple times. A very colorful currency. And the biggest one being, I think, 1,000 pesos, which is around 30 Australian dollars. You got the hundreds that are purple, the ones that you buy all the street food with. You got 50s, the bright red, but honestly, probably one of the most colorful currencies around. But we got what, like 6,000 or 7,000 pesos here, so that's probably like 200 bucks in Filipino peso. And I'm sure we'll be going back there at some point, so we'll keep that aside. Maybe go fight some midgets again in the midget boxing. Filipino people, extremely friendly. Definitely looking forward to going back there. Cambodia, I think we also have over here. Yeah, here we go. We have the Cambodian money, which is actually a hard one to distinguish because there's no actual, I know it says National Bank of Cambodia. Not the brightest of currencies, pretty bland. We got 1,000, which is 25 US cents. Now the really interesting thing with the Cambodian money and the currency is that they use USD for a lot of the transactions. Now very small transactions use the Cambodian real, like street food and stuff like that, but you can also use USD. But all the big stuff is put into USD. The reason they did that is during the very similar situation to Vietnam and having a lot of dark history, they wanted stability in the country. So I believe they pegged their currency to the US dollar, or they actually used the US dollar as the main form of currency, and it brought a little bit of stability to the whole financial and banking system there. So that's something really interesting, a country in Asia using the US dollar as their major currency, but I think it's worked out well for them. Laos is another country that I just have way too much money from. I don't even know how this happened. Was it because we were going up into the mountains riding bikes and we're like, oh, I don't know how much access to ATMs we're gonna have?
I don't remember.
But it also ended up being super cheap. What even was it? Lao lollies or something?
Kip.
Oh yeah, the kippa. How much is $1 Australian dollar?
$1 is 13 point, almost 14,000 kip.
Okay, so how much is 100k? Like $8 or something?
100k is 7.2.
7.2. All right, we're not gonna do this for everyone, but let's actually figure out how much money I have here. Like these are all $7 notes. 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3,700,000. 3.8 million. So how much is 3.8 million Lao?
273 Australian dollars. Why? Why did you
I
get
don't
this
know.
much money?
I just forget, and I think it's cool just to have them in a drawer.
If anything, if you ever go back to Laos, it's only
Probably
gonna be,
never.
No, but it's only going to be to see Luang Prabang,
Yeah,
right? Is it called
Luang
Luang Prabang?
Prabang.
Luang Prabang.
Well, there's also come to Vientiane.
Oh, Vientiane. No, Vientiane is the capital.
Come to
Yeah, you're
Vientiane.
definitely not going to need that much more. Unless you want to do the Takek loop again.
But you could probably do the whole Tokek loop on this cash.
Yeah.
The motorbike's like $10 a day.
We could probably do the whole Takek loop in one day.
Back to Vietnam, comparing the Takek loop, which you did, to the Ha Giang loop in Vietnam. The Ha Giang loop shits on it every day of the week tenfold. The Ha Giang loop is one of the best places to ever ride a motorbike. It's absolutely insane. Takek, bro, you're just driving and that's literally what it's like. You just hit a fucking speed bump or a pothole that's like half a foot deep. Crazy. I don't want to shit on Laos, but their roads are fucked.
Yeah, especially if you're an unexperienced driver like yourself. You
I did crash. I did crash.
How long
will I separate my side? Oh my god. I actually just crashed. The time has come.
What time?
India time.
Oh my god.
Fix the light bulb. Fix the light bulb. Oh, the good old Indian rupee. I only have 500s and 50 and 20. Their currency has Gandhi on it, so that is pretty cool. The man, the myth, the legend. One of the peace advocates of the world was sadly assassinated. Now, I read somewhere, I think it was maybe in 2014, India had a lot of issues with counterfeit notes, and that is when they introduced the 500 rupiah. I think they used to have a 1,000, but they actually got rid of that. They have a 2,000 one, which I don't have, which is bright pink, which is really cool. But they basically said to the Indian population, they said, you only have a few months to get rid of all your 1,000 rupee notes until they are no longer tangible currency. They end up extending that multiple years because people didn't go to the banks fast enough. But we've ended up with 500, which is around like 10 Australian dollars. And then, 20 and all these small ones, which you can use for street food. That's the Indian rupee. This is gonna be an interesting one. We have to do the calculations on how much money I have of this. This is the Mongolian Tigray, the most recent country that I visited. And for some reason, I just decided to get an absolute shit ton of cash out. Because I was going like super remote and they surprisingly had access to like online banking and like you could pay with cards even in the middle of nowhere. I went to the old capital of the Mongol Empire, Karakorum. And I was like, mate, there's like 10,000 people living there. It's 6 hours away from the capital. There's no way people are going to accept card out there. But surprisingly, they do. And
even though you had all those money, you decided to pay cashless.
I don't know. Well, let's have a look. How much is $1 Australian to the Mongolian Tugrik? And dude, I've tried in so many airports to get rid of this. I tried in Australia, even at the international airport. They're like, some people didn't even know what the Mongolian Tugrik was. And to be fair, I didn't until I saw it.
I'm just hearing about this for the first time in my life.
So how much is $1 Australian?
2,300.
Okay, so what's 20,000 Tugrik, which is one of these notes that I have?
That would be 8.69.
69.
Yeah.
All right, let's count these up and see how much I have. The other thing to note is obviously the country absolutely idolizes Genghis Khan, as they should. He is on all the notes.
That's actually a really cool one.
Yeah, it is very colorful. And Genghis Khan is on like so many statues, so many hotels have like pictures of him because he's the great Mongol Empire, the man that conquered the world. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. 500,000. How much is 500k?
Again, 217 Australian dollars.
I don't know, I'm just pissing out money here. But that was a cool currency. Very, very interesting. Pakistani rupee, which I have a lot of from my various visits. Very inflated currency. Again, I think the very first time that I went there was maybe, I think it was like 165 rupee per Australian dollar. So we got like 20k here, another 5,000. We got a lot.
You still counting it?
Shake your ass, shake your ass. Alhamdulillah, Pakistan done. Indonesian rupiah, I mean, we see that every single day. The biggest note is 100k, which I have in my wallet. But another extremely inflated currency. And you can pay with card a lot of things, so you don't actually typically use this a whole lot. And then the lucky last one, I believe, is the Turkish lira, Türk lirası. Another extremely inflated currency. When I was first there, I think we're gonna have to get you to do a little bit of research again, Alex. In 2021, what was the Turkish lira to AUD to whatever the Turkish is? TKR? TKY, I think it is.
2021 was 1 to 5.5.
5.5
on average.
Yeah.
And now it's 25. Look at this graph.
Oh my goodness. Dude, in 4 years, 500%. That's crazy. When I got this was worth $20.
Now it's worth it.
5.
More.
4.
3.
2.
1.
Dude, it's literally worth $4. When I got it, it was $20.
Let me see.
It was at 5.
So
5 times 20 is 100.
4. Exactly 4 on the spot.
Oh my goodness. This was $1, it's now 20 cents. For a huge country like Turkey to have such rapid inflation like that over the years. And supposedly now Turkey is actually quite expensive for tourists, from what I've heard. But that's crazy. Maybe I need to sell some of these currencies before they just end up dropping to zero.
You should keep track of it.
Yeah. These are all the coins I have. We're not going to go through them because that was an absolute mission. But one thing I want to point out is, I think this is Japanese yen, 50 yen. It's cool because you can put your in the middle of it. But it is interesting. It's got a little hole in the middle. So those are all the currencies that I've collected over the past few years of travel. I'm gonna collect one from every country I visit from now on. Hopefully we don't lose any like we did in 2021 after that big stretch of travel. But it's pretty cool having all these and how all these countries that we visit operate on the currency that they have. It's super interesting. I love making money, I love spending money, I love collecting money. So it's a pretty good hobby to have. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.